Another year, another remake, huh? As you guys know, I got to play Resident Evil 4 Remake. If you were a witness on my stream, I will say I did play the game a second time, and that did change my mind a little bit. I will be honest there. I lowered the difficulty and I played the game. I tried to do everything I could again. And I may say, fellas, it did change a little bit in the review, but that don't excuse all the other problems I had before. Certain parts of the game, as you remember in the stream, I was frustrated. I got mad a little bit because of the difficulty. I think it was because when I played the game again, everything, certain things changed, certain mindsets changed. So I will be honest there, but I still think this is not a masterpiece, if I'm being honest. But I will say it did change. Changing the difficulty did change my mind a little bit. So don't be one of those people that just read a title or look at a thumbnail and not watch a video. Try to watch the video. If it's too long, watch it in parts. And try to watch the whole thing just to see what I am saying. It is not a masterpiece. I'm gonna be honest there. But unlike God of War Ragnarok, I did have fun. So I do have to give credit where credit is due and give my opinion on certain things. So make sure you watch the whole thing. Resident Evil 4 Remake, huh? The game every original Resident Evil 4 player was waiting for. Literally. Even me, I was excited, fellas. As you know, I did check out some gameplay before the game came out. I was pretty excited, just a little bit. I'm not gonna say I was overhyping, but I was excited to see what this game is going to be. And if I'm being honest, I was pretty surprised, fellas. I did play the game a second time, like I said. This time on normal. I am warning anybody that's getting into this game. If you're an original player, I'm warning you. Do not listen to the message that says, oh, if you are an original Resident Evil 4 player, play on hardcore. That is a lie. Do not listen to that, fellas, because hardcore is just a bullet sponge and just plain old painful. It is painful. You will not have fun in some of the parts. I would say half of the game you will not have fun if you play on hardcore. Play on normal, even normal. I played on it the second time on normal, and I will say it's still bullet spongy, but it is not as painful as hardcore. I would say play it on normal or easy. That is my warning to you, fellas. I'm warning you now. Do not play it on hardcore if you're playing for the first time. You will not have a good time. But I do want to start with the environment of the game. We can start in the beginning. The beginning, if you played the demo, you guys already seen it. The beginning, although it looks scary, it looks dark, it looks foggy, it looks pretty linear. Like, when I mean linear, I mean super linear. Despite the old one being linear, it still felt pretty open. It still felt like you could go anywhere, despite you couldn't. It still looked and felt like you could go anywhere. But the start of the game, in this part, you feel like it's just a hallway you're running through. I know I've said this about many modern games, but this one's particular. The first part seems super claustrophobic, and it seems like you're just running straight ahead. It seems like you're just strictly supposed to go straight and you couldn't adventure out. Like I said, the old one is linear, I know, but it seemed like when you were playing, it seemed like you could go this way, you could go that way, despite you couldn't. But it actually baited you, and you could try. It just seemed more open, blah blah blah. It seemed way more open. I will say that I didn't see those guys in the car that dropped off Leon when I went back.
Forget your makeup or something?
I remember going back trying to check and see if they were there, but I didn't see them there. I don't know if that's a glitch. I don't know if I guess they just took that out. But if you remember in the original, you could go back and talk to the guys. But that's one little detail I didn't see. I also didn't see the dog in the beginning. I remember people asking, where's the dog? And I remember Capcom saying that the dog is not in the game. Yet the dog is in the game. So I don't know where that lie came from. But I remember people telling me the dog's not in there. Because, if we played I think they did that just so when we played the demo, we wouldn't see the dog and stuff like that. But again, dog wasn't there. I also noticed in the beginning of the game, there was one little breakable box you could, and this is what I mean about linear. You could go behind the cabin, or at least almost behind the cabin in the beginning, and you could, I remember you could break a box open, maybe found loot. If I remember correctly, I might be wrong, but I remember finding that. And this is what I mean about linear. And in the new one, you just go straight into the cabin and straight there. Like, it seems pretty like super linear, but I already said that. So you get into the cabin, and this is where I noticed this modern change again. And instead of letting you shoot the Ganado, this time they made Leon shoot for you. And also, Leon jumps out the window for you in this one. And I know in the old one there was a cutscene for the jump out, but at least you got the chance to press X and jump out. But this time Leon it was just a cutscene, and Leon just jumped out. And that's also a thing you're gonna see more and more. I complain about it a little bit, and it's not a major complaint, but most of the time it's cutscenes that are doing some of the things. And back then it was quick time events, and I know we didn't like quick time events, but I feel like they could have innovated in that somehow, make it better in a way. I know there's still quick time event in the game, but most of the part it is a cutscene. As you know, when you get to the village, if you played the demo, if I'm being honest, the village is 1-to-1. Like, literally, I didn't see anything. It felt like the original one. That's how 1-to-1 it was. Despite them changing the first area of the game, the village seemed 1-to-1 to me. The only thing I thought I seen that was different is that you could jump into certain windows that you couldn't do in the old one, which is a good thing. Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. There was another window you could jump off. If you remember the main house where the chainsaw guy come in, there was a window you could jump out of in the new one, in the remake, that you couldn't in the old one. So good job, Capcom. But I will say, if you play this on hardcore and you try to kill every enemy, or you try to play aggressively, this would not turn out good for you. Especially if you're a new player. At least the old players know that it's a time event and you gotta wait till the bell ring. But the new players, if you're playing this on a hardcore, even though I wouldn't advise it, but if you're playing on a hardcore difficulty and you try to kill every enemy, or you try to kill at least the chainsaw guy or most of the enemies, you will have a very hard time. I will say also, I did see another change in the beginning. If you do climb the ladder, remember you could camp out on that top of that ladder and wait for all the Ganados to come up. But this time they break the area, so it forces you to keep running. So good job. Again, fellas, I will say good where there's good. So good job, Capcom. That was a pretty cool change I've noticed throughout the beginning. But other than that, the village is 1-to-1. But one thing that was minor, that was a downgrade from the original, is the quote. Where is everybody going? Bingo?
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Lord Sadler. Where's everyone going? Bingo?
I will say that was a minor cut, but it was a minor downgrade in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but I will say that was a minor downgrade. The original was a lot better, but it seemed like Leon's trying too hard. But I will explain that later down when we get to the characters. But the bingo line was, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It was okay. The graveyard is another iconic spot in the Resident Evil 4, if you remember. Now, if I'm being honest, this part I think didn't even need a change. I think the original did it pretty well. Now, if you thought the beginning of the game was linear, this part's even more linear to me. I think it's all because of the trees and stuff, all the detail they try to add. It looked less mysterious, if I'm being honest. And it seemed, again, I know that's a complaint I already gave, but it seemed more linear. And it seemed less scary than the original. I think the original already had that pack. I think the original already had that down pretty well. I think they should have just kept it like the original. They shouldn't even try to change anything here. Maybe add a little bit more detail and far away in the background. But to add all these trees and all the gravestones, I don't know. I didn't really like it as much as I did in the original. But I will say it's not terrible. But I will say the original is better here. Again, only complaint would be it seemed way linear. I'm talking about claustrophobic. If you even watch the gameplay, you will see the difference. It seemed a lot more closed up just because of all the detail they tried to add. I feel like they were going for too much here, but it still looked like the original-ish, but with a lot more things compacted. It's just more, it's way more, like I said, linear. But if we will go to the church is another iconic spot in the original. And I will say the church almost is 1-to-1. One thing that was missing here was the jumping in the chandelier. I noticed they took that part out. It's a little taken out, but I will say that was a little charm that was in the old one. You could jump, and I know later down in the game you did that, but it was something you did here, and they did take it. I felt the church felt more detail in the old one, if I'm being honest. And I might be weird here, but I thought the church felt more detailed in the old one, just with all the banners and all the stuff that was in the church. It felt more detailed, if I'm being honest. Now, I almost forgot, when you got into the room before you go to the church, if you remember, you had to get a key when you were in the village, and you had to get in that one room. Now, if I'm being honest, that room is where it got me. I was like, this is where the Dead Space remake thing came out of nowhere. They, for some reason, decided to add fog in this area, which, fog does not equal scary. They took the Dead Space remake formula, fog equals scary, but it does not. I did not see. It was actually overdone. This room was weirdly overdone, but I will say it was cool to add this part in the game, but I think it was overdone in my opinion, because fog does not equal scary. I don't know what's up with modern remakes always have to add fog, and their fog is like overdone, like it's at a concert or something. It seemed overdone here, but that was just a minor thing I had to point out here. I don't know why they added this part in the game, to be honest. The fog does not equal scary. Now, as you know, the castle and the island is one of the biggest parts or biggest areas in the Resident Evil 4 game. Now, these are the parts that at least must be super faithful. And I will say, when you get to the castle, it is not as faithful as the island or the other parts of the game, or the lake. It's not as faithful as those two. The castle is it seems smaller, if I'm being honest. It seems way smaller. And I know you're going to be like, oh, you just going to blame linearity. Yes, for sure. The castle is super linear. But I will say there's a lot of cut places I did not see. I will say one of my favorite part of the castle, though, is where you first meet the knights, the Las Plagas knights. And I will be honest, fellas, that was one of my favorite, despite it had the fog part, which again, we already established. This is the fog equals scary. We established that. But I will say it is my favorite part of the castle. But the thing is, they did add a part of the castle that we didn't see in the original. But what I meant about, the castle not, being smaller and feeling like it's just less, is because instead of cutting places, they should have kept the places and add the places. I know I said this in my Resident Evil 1 remake. They should have kept all of the old places, at least try to arrange them in a certain way where it made sense, and then they should have added the spots they had now, because the remake parts, they are not bad. like the Ashely part, it's not bad. But before we get there, so favorite part of the well, one of my favorite part, I would say, not my total favorite, because there's one more part that really took my breath and I was like, wow, that's pretty good. But one of my favorite part of the castle is where you first meet the Night Plagas, right? Where you and Ashely had to go get I think it was a lion head. If you remember the original, it was like that too. You had to fight the Night Plagas, everywhere closed, and you had to fight them, right? So when you first met the Night Plagas, I will say, fellas, this part, it was good because of how they executed, with Ashely helping, which good job, Capcom. If you remember my stream, I really went off. I was like, oh my gosh, I have a smile on my face this whole time. It was pretty good, well executed, I would say. The Night Plagas looked pretty good. That whole area just looked pretty. It looked pretty nice, minus the fog. That's the only thing I would lower, maybe. I don't know why the fog just seemed out of place there, but after that, pretty good. But I will say my favorite of all time, like even throughout the whole game, my favorite part, the area, it was in the castle, and it was the part where you met the Ganados. Is that the name? Yeah, the guys, the Wolverine guys, right? When you first met the Wolverine, where you had to fight both the Wolverine that was blinded by the helmet, and the other one that was just the regular Ganados, if you remember. I will put the gameplay on the screen, but this part of the castle was literally 1-to-1, and they innovated, which good job, Capcom. This part was probably my favorite part. This part looked very good, like really well. And I will say though, it executed that perfectly. Even on hardcore mode, it was still executed good. They even had the bell. Like, my goodness, good job, Capcom. They did pretty well there. Just the area, they added a couple more things, and they kept all the old things. And this is what I've been begging for. Keep the old things and add upon them. Don't just take old things away. Keep them and add upon them. And that's what they did in this part, and I will give them credit there. But after that, throughout the castle, if I'm being honest, like the dining room, it looks okay, but it looks like it was being overdone. If I'm being honest, that part of the castle, like in the beginning part of the castle, it just seems like they were going the Resident Evil 8 route, with all the things cluttered, everything everywhere. I didn't really like that too, especially the first part. But I will say, like, those two parts I mentioned, great job, they did well there. It just felt like the other part of the castle felt way too compact, and it felt way too restrictive too. It felt very restrictive, like you couldn't go anywhere. But I will say, those two parts are my favorite. If you remember the other part of the castle where you had to send Ashely to rotate the moving floor, I will say that part's okay too. Only part that was weird is the water area. It just looked, I don't know, it just was weird. But after that, it was 1-to-1. That part was 1-to-1. It was pretty good too. But I will say again, wasn't a big fan of the castle until I got to the Night Las Plagas part, and until I got to the Ganados, or the two Wolverine boss fight. That part was pretty good. But I cannot forget about the Ashely part. The Ashely part is also pretty good. Also, it was actually pretty good. I actually enjoyed it. They gave her a little bit to do, unlike the original. She just had like 2 puzzles, I think, and then bam, she got out. But the new one, see what I mean about keeping old and innovating? They did that. They kept, her being by herself with a light, and then blam, they added a little bit more puzzles. They added a little bit more things to do. I will say, pretty good there. Good job, Capcom. I actually, like I said in the stream, I actually enjoyed that part. I played it again. Good job, Capcom. It was actually pretty good. I have no complaints throughout the Ashely part. It was actually pretty good. I'm trying to look for something bad to say here, but I actually can't. So good job, Capcom. I actually enjoyed that part. Not overselling. I did enjoy that part. Now, another area that was memorable in the original Resident Evil 4 was the mine cart area. Now, in this remake, I will say this is not my favorite area at all. I think this part of the game was changed too much. And also, just the minecart ride with Luis. The only reason, there are several reasons I didn't like this part. Well, first is because Luis was there. That's one. And I will mention that and explain that later down on the line, the video. But I will say the second part that made me not like this minecart ride, was because it seemed like a cinematic. Just a cinematic. If you remember the old one, let me explain. If you remember in the old one, you got in the minecart by yourself. I know the old one, it was pretty frustrating to play. But I will say the old one was much more of a challenge, and it was much more fun than this cinematic shooting Ganados on carts and shooting bombs and shooting signs just to change the railroad. I know it seems intense, but I'm being honest, this part was the easiest part of the game, and it was just, if I'm being honest, they could have just kept it like the OG. At least just make me and Luis on the cart shooting Ganados as jumping in. It made more sense weirdly in the old one, but okay. So if you remember in the old one also, you were on the cart by yourself, and you had to have some type of skill to make sure you shoot the Ganados on before they got in the cart first, if you were fast enough, or being able to shoot the Ganados on there and creating space for yourself so that you wouldn't get overrun. If you remember also, they dropped a chainsaw guy inside the cart in the old one, and also you had to be able to have enough ammo, and and you had to shoot him and make sure you kill him first. They even had Plagas in there, Las Plagas guys in there also, which also made it difficult. So you had to be able, it was much more fun in my opinion and challenging, because you had to be able to space out yourself and jump on or shoot the Ganados before they got on there, which is harder than said. But one thing in the old one, if you remember also, Leon would jump off the cart and you'll have to mash X. This part was brutal. And you had to mash X. If you did it slower than the game intended, instant death. And you would have to restart this thing. This is what made it frustrating, if I'm remembering correctly. But again, the minecart part was not my favorite part of the game. I think that was a change too much. And I think also this cinematic part with the driving with Luis was just wasn't my favorite. I will say though, that part where you had to get the C4, that one was okay, and you had to blow the rock. That part was cool. But one part also that I would change is the El Gigante fights, the two big boss fights. If you remember, in the old one, you had two El Gigantes come up. I hope I'm saying that right. Came up and you had to fight both of them. But one perk you had was you could drop them into the furnace or the lava, right? And this one you can do the same thing, but two things I would change. But the first thing I would change here that I didn't really like at first was that, well, the first one's not a big deal, but it was something that was an old one that I seen that they didn't bring back. So in the old one, if you remember dropping the El Gigante inside the furnace, he would come back up. If you ran in there if you ran by the furnace too fast, he would come back up and he would grab you. You would die instantly. So that's one thing that they changed. I'm like, okay, they changed that part. But if you remember, you did fight them alone, and in this one you have Luis with you. Now here's the second problem. Luis, after you kill the first one, Luis runs somewhere and he grabs some dynamites, right? A trigger cutscene. He grabs some dynamites and he jump on the back of the El Gigante and he dropped the dynamite, and you have to shoot the dynamite to expose, because he has like armor on or something. You have to shoot the dynamite to expose the little plagas that's in his back, right? And we know this from the old one. But here's my problem though. It's way too easy. Way too easy. No matter what difficulty you're playing on, it is way too easy. That's because as soon as you shoot the dynamite, he goes down and you just pull the little trigger and he go and the furnace keeps working, or the lava opener shutter, it opens and it kills him. It's that easy, and all because Luis was there with you and got some dynamite and made it super easy. I think that fight was completely ruined because of that that dynamite dropping in the back, that right there just it took me out. I was like, wow, bro. I even said it on the stream, I think it was ruined because of that cinematic part. Why did they make it this way? Beyond me, fellas. The part that made the old one good is because it was you by yourself, and you had to find somehow, some way. If you didn't save ammo, the game punished you there. You had to kill both El Gigante by yourself. And the thing is, you got one time to drop one of them inside of the furnace, right? But in this one, you can kill both of them inside the furnace with no problem. Easy, and move on. And I think that was a step down from the original. The original was much more fun because it was all you by yourself. This one, Luis technically took the win. But that's that part right there. The mine part was okay. I would say it was okay, but it's not my favorite part of the game. There was another part also, if you remember in the old one, where all the bugs were also. I think that's what this part was. All the if you remember the part where the bugs kept spawning and you had to find the secret door to open. If you remember the original, I think the remake had that too, but instead you had to shoot certain pores. I think you had to shoot 4 pores just to stop the spawning of the bugs. But I think that's what that area was. If not, you can go ahead and correct me in the comments, but I think that area, that's what that was. I'll put that on the screen, but I think that's what that was right there. It wasn't my favorite part either. Just the whole mine period just wasn't, I don't know. The El Gigante fight just ruined that for me already. It's too late. That's my mind there. Now, another part of Resident Evil 4 that was pretty big. And I remember people complaining about this, the island. It's the island. But I remember people complaining about the island and saying how they didn't like it. To be honest, I like the island. Why everybody don't like the island part? Especially that part with the chopper and all of that. I actually like that part. There was nothing wrong with that part. They did keep that, for the most part, the same. I didn't see too many difference. Only part of the island that was pretty different was the wrecking ball area, which, if I'm being honest, made more sense in the remake than it did the original. I know, wait, Gibby, what? Yes, this wrecking ball, the original had the wrecking ball room, which it was still cool. It just didn't make sense. But in the remake, they did add they made Ashely get inside a wrecking ball area, which, okay, I don't know how I feel about that, but it allowed Ashely to get in the wrecking ball machinery, and you have to hit you. So it's scripted. This part's scripted, which this is where I didn't like. Kind of, this part is scripted, unlike the original one. It wasn't scripted. The wall actually had a physics where it was waiting to a certain amount of hit and it breaks. But at this one, this was a scripted one, and it is where we get into modern stuff, stuff that we can dislike. But I personally don't like the scripted part, but it was scripted, and you had to kill all of the enemies all the way, no matter how, unless somebody tested it and I'm wrong. I stayed and tried to let Ashely hit the wall as much as she could with one enemy chasing me. She still didn't break it until I killed the last enemy, and then she finally broke it. So I will say that part was scripted, and instead of you being in a room, she's hitting the wall and you killing enemies. So, it's pretty basic, but I will say the change made sense. But the scripted part is what I didn't like, that you had to keep shooting enemies. And the thing is, there was a point where I remember running out of ammo too, and I just had to use the wrecking ball to kill the enemies. And I will say that part was bizarre. There you go, 50-50. You give and take there. It was a good change, but also the scripted part wasn't my favorite. So, but that was one part that was changed. And another part I remember changed is the part of the island was the regenerator area. There was 2 places that was changed. They actually added upon this one, if I remember correctly. There was one part you were going backwards in the room from the original. God, only if I can find that and remember. But there was one part where you went backwards from the original, but it still was leading to the same part, if I remember correctly. They still have the Burning Man there. Good job, Capcom. They still kept that. So for the most part, most of the part was faithful in that area. But they did add a certain area in the regenerator room where you had to get a key card And that part, you had to kill the right generator. When I went back and played it, I didn't know that. You had to kill the right regenerator to get the ranch and then open the thing to get the level 3 key card. So that part was changed right there. That right there was changed. And not a bad change. One other part before I figured out change was dropping in that trash area.
Looks like this is it.
Ugh, it stinks.
Sure does.
No way, Leon.
Way.
Remember the old one, Leon and Ashely dropped down that trash chute, and then you met the regenerators there, and you had to have Ashely. I think in this one you had to actually wait and hold the bridge so you can go to the next side and blah blah, open the door. But this part, the part that was frustrating for this part, is that enemies started spawning in the other side of Ashely, and if you don't get there in time, they will get her, and also a regenerator will spawn and it will trap you in the other side. So that part, I don't know, but I know that they changed that whole part right there. I think there was another part they did change. Oh, they didn't have, but I think I'll speak about it later on down in the cut content part. But after that, Island was pretty 1-to-1. I will say, even the Krauser part, 1-to-1. I didn't see too many different, except for when you got into the second phase boss fight. That's when that part was changed. But after that, the first Krauser fight, the little area, it seemed 1-to-1 until you got, I think, up the they did rearrange the part where you had remember in the old one you had to open certain doors to get to the pieces that Krauser was spread out in the island. So I think that's what they changed. But after that, I still saw the robots. The only robots I didn't see was the blowing up robots. I didn't see that there. But I will say, the first part of the Krauser fight seemed 1-to-1. It seemed literally exactly the same. I didn't see too many change there, but I will say the second part of the boss fight, they did rearrange that major. And I didn't really hate it too hard. Not bad. But I still prefer the original arrangement. But I will say this one was pretty good. But yeah, and to that part, 1-to-1. Not gonna lie, the island also looked pretty good from far away. I didn't see, they did add some like laser thing, some turrets. Oh no, that was in the old one. Never mind, what am I saying? But despite that, island looked 1-to-1 from what I remember. Even certain parts with their regenerator areas, pretty good. Like I said, there was one part where you were going backwards instead of like the original, you were going a certain way, but still were the same, I will say. And they did add a area in there too, so I got to give them that also. I will try to put all the stuff I'm saying on the screen, but yeah. There you go, that's that part. Cut content. Now I remember back when Resident Evil 3 Remake came out, how people were going crazy on how they had cut content. Even when Resident Evil 2 came out, people were going crazy how they were cut content. But for some reason, I do not see nobody talking about cut content in this game. Everybody just want to bypass it just because it's Resident Evil 4 and it's going to be game of the year, blah, blah, blah. But for some reason, everyone's blinded. I haven't seen one video pointing out how there are cut content in this game. So since I haven't seen any video, maybe you have, but I haven't, I'm going to assume that I'm the first one to call this out. Now, yes, there are cut content, and I know people are going to make the argument, but this is a remake, Gibby. They get to take out things, right, and add things. Yeah, but it's not like they took these things out and added on them. And first of all, if you remember in my Resident Evil 1 video, I made a whole video about how I would like a remake to be. And this taking out content wouldn't be a big deal if you would have replaced it with an even better thing, like, or even better area, or even better enemy, or even better weapon in this game, right? At least you would have, compensate for taking out all the content, or some of the content that was in the old game, and you added yourself. But in this game, they took out something. I'm gonna name a couple things they cut out, but that was one part of the game I was not expecting them to cut out, because this was the best part in the original. This was the best area in the original Resident Evil 4. Now let's go over some of the things they cut out. They cut out the laser room. If you remember in the old Resident Evil, the original Resident Evil, I know the laser room wasn't everybody's favorite, but it was a charm. It was a cool thing to have. You know, after you fought all the regenerators, you hop into this laser room, you know, and then now you gotta press quick time buttons to get out of the laser room. And it was so cool to see Leon, you know, such a beast, to get out of that laser room. And I know it was from the movie, whatever, but what about it made it good to me, right? It was the charm. It was how cool it was. I'm gonna mention the charm a lot, especially towards the end of the video where I'm talking about the characters and stuff. But if this game is inspired by the old one, and I'm putting quotation in the air here, at least innovate in the laser room, or at least just keep it in there. Just throw it in there. Why did they take the laser room out? Okay, that's the question. Why did they take it out? They kept everything else. Everything else in the game. They even added upon the castle, but they took out the laser room. I'm guessing because it's too silly. But again, it was a charm thing. So I guess that one's out, right? Next thing they took out was U3. R.I.P. my guy, U3. Now I know I heard people say, oh, U3's coming out in Ada's whatever separate ways as a DLC, mind you. So you cut it out of the original, you cut it out of the main game, which was in the original, and you brought it into a DLC. Now the thing is, I think, is it separate ways, or is it I think it's the other mode, I forgot the other mode name, is coming as a free update. I remember that. So instead of when you finish the game, right, and you get the 2 extra modes, you get separate ways and assignment Ada. Actually, it was 3. Mercenary was the name. Mercenary was 3 things you could unlock after you beat the game. For this game though, after you beat it, you get nothing. No assignment Ada, no separate ways, none of that. Again, I'm not gonna go crazy on this one, but somebody gotta point this out. Okay, right? So no U3. In the spot U3 was in, you know, remember that one area that I'll put the gameplay on the screen, but where you first encountered U3, that whole area is not in the game at all. And that is a part of the game that was in the original. That was a part that was in the original that they cut out in this game. And you cannot make a full review without calling this part out. So you can, and also you cannot call yourself an original Resident Evil 4 fan. I love Resident Evil 4, yet you don't care about them taking out this, right? So okay, so if you didn't mind those 2 being taken out, let's go to the next one. So the Salazar statue room, they took that part out also. Now instead of this part being you know, the Salazar statue chasing you, if you remember in the old one, again, such a charm to this room. Salazar statue would chase you, and you'll have to break the door open, and then he'll chase you, and you have to press a series of buttons, and you'll have to jump. It was just a cool action piece in the old one, right? So this part is gone. Instead of the Salazar statue room, they just had Salazar statue standing in the middle. Now mind you, this Salazar had the hat on, and I will come back to that later, but Salazar statue was in the middle, breathing fire. Instead of having it in its own area, they had it in that one room where in the original, if you remember, you climb up the ladder and the enemies will throw that barrel down at you. Instead of in this one, it's a spiky ball, but they'll throw the barrel down at you, right? And then you will have to dodge it. But Salazar statue wasn't there. And this one, it's the same area, but with Salazar statue is in the middle and is breathing fire. So that right there, okay. Now if you didn't mind that one, that's another cut thing they had in the game. If you didn't mind that one, they cut out the laser in the game. Wait, before you even go type it in the comment. I know where you're going. Oh, Gibby, the laser is in in 2 pistols in the game. That's it? That's it? So the guy that told me the lasers in the game lied to me. You only get it on 2 weapons, fellas. After that, even the red 9, you have to deal with the stupid shaky hand crosshair, which I will get back to later on. But you have to deal with every other gun. You have to deal with a crosshair. Now, you can't. Anybody that's playing this game for the first time, this is your first time playing Resident Evil 4. Okay, maybe you won't be going crazy on it, but you cannot call yourself an OG if you do. At least give us the option. At least give us the option to put laser on every weapon. I thought that's what they were going to do, and the guy told me, "Oh, you get laser in the game. The laser's in the game." Okay, I'm thinking, okay, at least we start with the crosshair. Cool. You know, I don't like it as much, but whatever. I'll deal with it if I can unlock the laser later on every weapon. Can you? Unless I miss something, you only can unlock it on 2 weapons. And mind you, it's on one of the magnums, and it's on the original pistol that you start with, right? So the laser, and the laser is not even that good. I'm gonna point this out now since we're here. The laser is not even that good. It's cool to just use. I use it in my second playthrough. Okay, fine, it was okay, but it's not. There are certain areas. Okay, I'll give the example. So if you remember back in the old one, and this is a small nitpick, but if you remember back in the old one, the laser would, when an enemy's coming close, the whole point of the laser was to be super accurate, right? So when an enemy would move towards you and you have the laser on them, the laser would gradually get closer to you, right? But in this one, it seemed like the laser's going through the enemies. It's just not as good as the original. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to go too deep into that one, but it's not as good as the original. The original just had, it was more realistic, weirdly, in the original. Unless there's a bug they have on this one. Maybe they fixed it by the time I'm speaking to you right now. The laser, it's only on 2 weapons. That's the main problem for me. At least allow me to unlock it on the red 9. I don't think I could unlock it on the red 9. I really looked for it, fellas. I did. It seemed like you only can keep it on the original pistol. You couldn't unlock it on the red 9. Unless I'm mistaken, then alright, fine. Get the laser out of there. Even then, you still would have the problem where you don't have it on all weapons, just some. Okay, so we move on. And now, if you didn't care about that part, there is one last cut well, there's actually 2. I'll go ahead and mention the other one. There's another one. Fine. I know there's more. So the next cut thing that I didn't notice, and I was running through then this is in the island area. I noticed that they didn't even try to recreate. And it was the part where, if you remember, Leon, when he was rescuing Ashely, he used this crane to pick up the enemies and drop them in the trash chute. If you remember, again, a small little charm that's just gone. That was such a cool part in the old one, and guess what? Gone, taken out. Of course you don't care. You don't care, huh? Of course none of you guys care, because I don't know why you don't. If you're an original fan of Resident Evil 4, I don't know why you wouldn't care about this. And again, you might be still hitting me with the argument, oh, this is a remake. Literally, they use everything from the old one. 95% of the game is all the areas, literally guns, are in the old one. This game is technically the same, but with RE2 engine. RE2 remake engine. Literally nothing different from the old. Well, yes, like the minor things I'm gonna point out later on, but literally everything is inspired. Island is inspired, castles inspired, first the village is inspired. Literally everywhere is inspired by the old one. So you can't say this is a completely new game when literally everything's inspired by the old game. It's technically almost reimagined. It's almost there, but a reimagine to me would have been they added a whole new area, or they added, they kept some of the old, but they added like bigger areas to it. Like the castle, I would say, is a reimagine. It's a reimagine. But only thing is, the problem is they cut out some of the cool parts that was in the old one. Okay. So if you didn't mind that one, Gibby, I don't care about those. All right. This one, I realized towards the end of my stream when I was literally, I think, an hour off beating the game, right? I noticed, wait a minute, I'm running through the whole castle. I did not see the dragon room. Do you remember the dragon room? You don't remember the dragon room? I'll give you a little say. You don't remember the dragon room? The one with all the fire and all the Ganados. I think maybe it wasn't the Ganados, but it was the monks. They were in some type of statue, and I'll put the gameplay on the screen, and they were just you had to get a puzzle piece there, and the fire would they would breathe in fire on you, blah blah blah. I'll put the gameplay on the screen. And if you don't remember this and you call yourself the original Resident Evil 4 fan, I cannot help you there. I just can't. But this is, to me, the best part in the old game, and I couldn't believe it when I seen that they took this part out. Even when I played the second time, unless again I'm mistaken, fellas, I did not see the dragon room. I could put up with everything else, but this right here, the best area, the best room in the castle, they taken out. Now, here's my speculation. Hopefully it's not true. This also might be in separate ways. This part, either it's in separate ways or it's in assignment 8. I don't know when that's coming out, but either they add this room later on or it's just cut, period. And I would at least add it later on. I'm not a big fan of paying for it later on, if it's a DLC. But at least it would be added, right? I'm trying to level this out, fellas. But this is my favorite part in the old game, and they took it out. I cannot stand for it. I'm not even going to try to, stand for it. I can't do it because this is the best part in the old game, and they taking it out. And if you call yourself an OG Resident Evil 4 fan, I cannot help you. You are not an OG. There you go. I know, broke your heart, but you're not. This is, again, my favorite part of the game, and they taking it out. And to call out Resident Evil 3 Remake for cut content and not call this game out for cut content, can't help you. I can't help you. Now, as an OG RE4 fan, you would remember that gameplay was the thing that was holding this game. It was super fun. I mean, the shooting, I know. This is where everything of horror went to, down the drain. That's true. But you got to give it that. It had a very good gameplay. I mean, just with the laser and some of the weapons, how all the weapons made sense, including the TMP, despite I didn't like it. They were they were useful. Like the shotgun was very useful to get out, to crowd control. The pistol was perfect for, just to conserve ammo from the other ones. It was pretty good long range. Every time you shot a Ganado, they would, react. You had the snipers. I mean, perfect. Assault rifles, perfect. Now in this game, I will say I am not the biggest fan of the gameplay. If you watch my stream, I wasn't enjoying it too well. And I would say part of it is because I played on hardcore. Now the Ganados, the thing is, I had a huge problem with the Ganados not even reacting to certain shots. I would have to shoot the Ganado like 4 times in the legs just for them to react and for me to do a move. In the face, it will be 2 times, and sometime it will be 1, and sometime it will be 3. So I know hardcore was part of it, but fellas, I played the original and professional, and I didn't have none of this problem. I still felt like I was in control. This game, I think, like I said, the shooting, I mean, before I even get the shooting, there were a couple weapons that I didn't see in the old, that wasn't in the old one, like the MP40 and that AR. I think those are the 2 weapons that were in there. I think all of the other weapons were in the old one. Now, I didn't use the 2 ARs. I didn't see the reason. It turned into Call of Duty as soon as you even pulled them. Like, if you bought them, as soon as you aim in, it went first person. It just, with no scope. It just felt weird. So, after a while, I stopped using them. Especially, also, they used the TMP ammo, I think. And I think one of them used a assault rifle ammo or whatever. So, I wouldn't see the point of anybody even buying some of these assault rifles. They are pretty weak. They run out of ammo very fast, especially on hardcore. I wouldn't even recommend, if you're playing this game, I wouldn't recommend even buying the assault rifles. But okay, so since we're in the shooting part, the shooting was not my favorite. Oh my gosh, yo. There's like a certain sway when Leon aims. Oh my gosh. And the thing is, this game, it seemed like they want you to shoot all enemies because they'll keep enemies in rooms, and when you go back, they'll still be there. So it seemed like they want you to shoot all enemies. They went this RE2 remake route. And now, if you remember an RE2 remake, you wouldn't have to shoot all enemies. You could skip them. You can run past them. Cool. You didn't have to shoot all of them. But in this game, it's like they want you to shoot all of them because all of the Ganados are literally super aggressive. They are very aggressive. And the thing is, Leon is way too slow to react to any of this. The game don't want you to play like the old one. They don't want you to shoot and the Ganados react and you kick them. They don't want you to play that way, or you knife them in the face and you kick them, or you body slam them. They don't want you to play that way. They want you to deflect every single Ganado attack. And it's like, bruh, what if I don't want to play that way? And the thing is, I wouldn't mind the deflect because when I played the game again, I didn't. It's a cool little, mechanic. It's not bad. Not my favorite, but it's not bad. The thing is, the game wants you to play that way. They don't want you to play like the original at all, because I would shoot a Ganado from far away, right? And not too far, because I've tested this from the old one and this one. The Ganado would instantly, for some reason, the prompt to kick them would go away super fast. And the thing is, before you even there's so many Ganados, first of all, and they are so aggressive. If you shoot one and it reacts, you can't even get to it in time because one of them would just grab you. Some Ganados don't even have weapons, so they'll run and grab you, like the old one, right? That's cool. But the thing is, they are so aggressive that Leon is so slow. You don't even get the time to react, yo. You don't even get time to react. Not only that, even the monks are pretty aggressive too. And some of them have bows, and you can't the thing is, again, at the end of the day, Leon is just too slow. And the thing is, like I said, with the crosshair, Leon has like this suede when he aims, and sometimes you will miss a lot of shots, especially with the El Gigantes. Oh my gosh, guys, you just gotta, I don't know, I'll try to put gameplay on the screen, but I will say this was not my favorite part. I wish somehow, someway they'll patch this. This is why I wanted the laser. You see the reason why I wanted the laser on all the weapons? At least give me the option to have the lasers on all the weapons, because the shooting is atrocious, man. It is not fun at all. I will say, when you get a handle on the deflecting, yes, you can start, deflecting a lot, but you will run out of knives at some point. But at least the deflecting can be fun. But the thing is, I want a variety. I don't want just deflect. What if I don't want to play that way? And also, you could play stealthy. And the thing is, I barely use the stealth. I tried using it. Like, one time I got caught. I was trying to sneak behind a regenerator, got caught instantly, and the regenerator knew where I was at all time. It didn't matter if I went. I know they wanted to go this Evil Within route. I know people don't want to point this out, but it is Evil Within, ladies and gentlemen. That's the gameplay. And the thing is, it wouldn't be bad because Evil Within is a solid game. But the thing is, with Evil Within, you could lose the enemies. In this game, the enemies, you can't lose them at all. As soon as you break your stealth, that's it. And the thing is, you're not gonna use the stealth as much as you think. You think you will, like they did in the gameplay they showed you on the the trailer, but you're not gonna use it as much as you think. You're really not. You're not going to use it at all. But I will say again, the shooting is atrocious. I didn't have fun with that at all. No matter if I played it on normal, it was a little bit better on normal because I could manage it, and the Ganados weren't so hard to, so aggressive. And the thing is, if you remember playing the cabin part, oh my gosh, with Luis, God almighty, that part was brutal. It took me forever, hours to even finish that part on hardcore. I did beat it pretty easy on normal, but on hardcore there was no balance. It seemed like they didn't even test the game on hardcore, because how bad that was a brutal time. Now I know that was also hard on professional mode and the old one, but good God, this part was bad it's not fun. That was not fun at all. This part was not fun at all. And the thing is, Luis barely helped you in this part either. Back then, I feel like Luis helped even more. This one, Luis seemed useless. All of the Ganados would just crowd you up, but Luis wouldn't do anything. He would rarely throw ammo packs. You remember back then, he's use this, Leon. He would barely do that here. I don't know. Maybe somebody had a different experience, but I didn't have a good experience with this at all. Like I said, you could deflect. Even the oh my gosh, even the regenerators were too aggressive. At some time, they would be running towards you. Oh my gosh. Back then, they at least used to just be slow. They'll do a couple movement fast just to scare you. But they're super aggressive here. And again, there's a sway to aiming down. And this is the problem with not having the laser. The crosshair is just, at some point, the crosshair does come together and center itself, but you won't be able to do that under pressure. And with the Ganados sprinting at you, and the monks sprinting at you, and the regenerators sprinting at you, you won't have the time, especially when you have to shoot the regenerators little spot. I think because I played on controller, that might be the problem also. I will give it that. I won't go too far and say it's complete trash, but there was a lot of problems with it, fellas. I just wish they would allow you to play with the laser all the way. I'm not even, trying to be fully negative here, but at least give us that, that option. Like I said, the laser was only on 2 weapons. After that, all the other guns are crosshairs. It was pitiful. Even the Red 9, I don't know, man. I just didn't enjoy the gameplay too hard. One thing I did notice, though, throughout the enemies, is that we had female monks. Don't think I didn't notice that, Capcom. I noticed that. And the thing is, now what? Men can't even be in a cult by themselves. Women gotta be there too. They had female monks. I know we had female Ganados, but there was never female monks. But now there's female monks. I don't know if there were female soldiers in the island. I might have to re-watch, but I know there were female monks, and I don't remember it in the old one. That's all I gotta say about that one. I don't know if that's suspect, but it probably is. Maybe I'm going too deep into this, but I did notice that part. But after that, wasn't a big fan of the gameplay. Leon's way too slow. Like, most of the movement are super janky. It's weird, man. If you watch gameplay, you won't see it too well, but when you play it, it's just crazy. The Ganados are too aggressive sometimes, and the shooting, oh my gosh, the recoil and the suede. This game is not that scary for it to be horror. So clearly they wanted to go, from what I'm feeling, they wanted to go with this action pack like the old one, shooting, constantly. But the shooting was not that fun to begin with in this game. So it was ruined in my opinion. Now, before I even get into this part of the video, I just wanted to point out, why does Leon run like he's Ed from Cowboy Bebop? I mean, look at the animation, man. Sometimes he runs with his hand flopping everywhere. I mean, what happened to the iconic 2-hand on the pistol? What's up with this animation here? I know it's minor, but I just wanted to point it out. Even RE2 Remake, even RE3 Remake had the 2-hand on the pistol. Why in the world is Leon running like this? Why did they even bring this change, I have no clue. But I know, again, it's minor, but I had to point that out since we in the gameplay part. Now, the big cheese. I don't think I heard Luis even call him the big cheese in the game. I thought I would have caught it, but in case I'm wrong, I'll go ahead and let you comment down below. But I don't remember Luis even calling him the big cheese. The fact that they have the name for the trophy, big cheese, or the achievement, but yet Luis didn't say it, it doesn't even make sense to me. Even towards the end where they say overtime, like, come on, bro. I'll get to that later, but even that achievement was named overtime, and we didn't even, the line wasn't even stated, but whatever. So the big cheese. Now, when I first fought this enemy, if I'm being honest, there was one move he would do before we even get to the second phase. So first phase is pretty generic. It's pretty normal. I think it's like the old one. I mean, certain moves like he does like a 360, I believe. That was not in the old one, if I remember correctly. But he's still the same. He walks around. The thing is, now you can deflect him, which is actually pretty good, unlike the old one where you had to jump down all the time. But I will get to that in the second phase, because I don't think you can deflect them in the second phase. The thing is, I think you can deflect all of the enemies except maybe Salazar, I think, or the end boss also. But I think you can deflect maybe not all the enemies. I think you can deflect big cheese, but in second phase I don't think you can deflect them. But okay. So first phase is normal. One minute thing I noticed that was in the OG that I enjoyed that wasn't in this one was that before you get to the second phase, there's usually a cutscene that happened. His body get torn apart, right? But in the original one, I remember the leg kept walking towards you as, he's moving around. So his bottom half of his body kept moving towards you, which was kind of cool. I did not see in this game. Also, I didn't see the barrel that was in the room. I don't think I've seen one there. Usually there was a barrel inside the room. Also, another thing that was changed in this also was that half of the barn was closed off due to fire everywhere. So, but as soon as the second phase happened, the fire would increase, which will limit the player's area, even more. So think about that. But the thing is, one thing that made this worse was that he would go in the back, right? Since you can't go in the other half of the barn, he would go there. He would pull up some planks and he would throw them at you. Still till this day, I do not know how to guard this plank or deflect. I don't know if you deflect it. I don't know if you just dodge it somehow. But for me, all I did was try to run one place and sat there until he threw it, and I'll run another way. But that wouldn't work all the time. My number one secret to dodging these planks were going up the ladder and down the ladder. That was it. After that, and the thing is, there's no iframe, so you must go there is an iframe on the ladder, but you must go early. If you go too late, he will still hit you while you in the animation of climbing the ladder. So what I did was just keep climbing up and keep climbing down. Now you're gonna see this this type of strategy come back when I fight what's his name, Krauser. When I fight Krauser, I use the same strategy: ladder up, ladder down, because there's no way to dodge. It's not like in Resident Evil 3 Remake where you could dodge or anything. So it still felt like they were trying to go with this tanky gameplay with that, but whatever. So Big Cheese, he still looks the same. He still has some of the same attacks, just a few things change. I will say the barn looks the same also, maybe less. Like I said, they took half of the barn out, so you can't go too far. You must sit by the fire the whole time or go up the ladder. Even then, he would still come and hit you from time to time. So either way, Big Cheese is okay. It's a pretty good boss fight. But the only thing also I've also seen now, not the only thing. Another thing I've seen now is changed was that you don't use the eye to get in the door no more. You just use it and sell it. I don't know if there's a use for it. Maybe somebody found a use, but I didn't find a use for it. I just sold it and that was it. Ah, Salazar. Mr. Kennedy. Probably one of the best villains in RE4. But I will say the only thing that pissed me off with Salazar, well, two things. The look. He looks older. He's supposed to look like a kid, but he looks a lot older. And dude, they completely, at least with Big Cheese, he looked kind of like the old one and look a little bit, yeah, he still looked like the old one, realistic wise. But Salazar looks terrible. I don't think anybody can justify Salazar. And the next thing that I know this is not a big deal to everybody, but for me, since I'm an OG fan, the hat. What happened to the hat, ladies and gentlemen? What happened to the hat? That's literally one of the main the main look of Salazar is that hat. And the accent was another problem. Oh my gosh.
Mr. Kennedy, who the hell are you? Me? Oh, please, call me Ramon. And allow me to get straight to the point.
I was starting to wonder when you might notice us.
Who are you?
Me llamo Ramon Salazar, the 8th Castellan of this magnificent architecture.
We'll get to the accents later, but it was a downgrade. Mr. Kennedy, even I can do a better voice acting role than whoever was that did that. But no hat. The hat is missing and everything. But I will say, his boss fight was not that bad. I actually enjoyed the boss fight. The first time I fought him, I sold out. I bought a rocket launcher and I just shot him one good time and he was dead. That was it. So the rocket launcher is still the same. You can kill. I don't know if you can kill every boss in one hit like you could back then, but you could kill. I know I killed the end boss. I killed Sadler with one hit from the rocket launcher. So I guess you can still kill all the bosses. I'm going to guess you can kill all the bosses with just one rocket launcher, right? So my man, the boss fight was not that bad. You actually could move. If you remember the old one, you just sat on the top. You shot him. Some of the iframes were broken. I'ma be honest. I can't be biased there. I gotta be honest right here. I think this might have been more enjoyable than the old one. I'm gonna be honest. From what I'm feeling, I did play the game again, the old one and the new one. I will be honest, this is better. I enjoyed this a lot better. You could move. He has some new moves which I didn't hate. He spit at you. He pounce at you. I mean, not bad, fellas. I have nothing to complain about in this one. I didn't hate the Salazar. The only thing is maybe the look. I wish he was a lot bigger, maybe with the tentacles, but after that, it's actually pretty good. I have no complaints here. Only complaint is the hat. What in the world happened to the hat? Krauser. Krauser. I actually, again, what? Another positive? I actually enjoyed Krauzer's first phase. Let me say that. You actually met Krauser twice. You met him after you and Luis was in the mine. You fought him in that first boss fight. Chef kiss. That actually looked like something they could have implemented in the original RE4. So good job there. I actually didn't hate that. I actually enjoyed it. Now, the second time you meet Krauser was on the island, as you know, like in the original. And I will say, Krauser's spot looks 1-to-1 the first part. Like I said before, it looks pretty good. I didn't hate it. Now, the second phase, though. First phase, you just, first few knives in a knife fight like you did in the original. He even had the bow. Good job. Only thing I noticed about Krauser was his voice acting. It's always the voice acting, but his accent wasn't there. It seemed like he was just a normal American guy. I don't know. Maybe somebody can let me know a little.
You always had poor judgment.
Aren't you calling me a simp?
But if you think I'm gonna let you out of here alive, you're even more naive than I thought.
A bit more about the lore, but there was no Russian accent at all in this. At all. I didn't hear not one Russian accent. I will say that is one thing that was I noticed that was missing there. But after that, the first time you encounter him, pretty good fight. Second time you encounter him, he had the bow, he even had the TMP. I think he was also throwing grenades at you. Pretty good. Even the soundtrack was the same. I mean, hello? First part is good. Now the second phase is where everything changed for me. When I played this on hardcore, God knows how much pain I went through, guys. Dude, you don't know how brutal the game punished you here. Actually, if you didn't bring ammo, you only get 3 boxes, one on the bottom platform and one on the top, and 2 on the top platform, right? But the thing is, Krauser would not let you break them. That's the problem. And you must perfect. I don't know if, I think there's certain moves you can perfect deflect him, but the other ones I don't think you can. So Krauser, I don't think you can deflect all his move either. There's a move where he grabs you by the head. I don't think you can deflect that. There's one where he swings with, I think, his right arm, which is the shield one. So this time, actually, before I get any further, he has two things he's using. Back then he was only using just one hand with the blade, but now he's using 2. So, you know, I guess it's cool. But second phase is so brutal on hardcore, fellas. Yeah, I don't know. If you watch my stream, I was struggling. And then the next time I fought him on normal, I beat him easily first time I fought him on second on normal, beat him the first time. That's because I guess he just becomes a super bullet sponge, and they just make him a lot harder to kill. I mean, I tried to knife him like you did in the old one. You had to knife him. Shooting him wasn't working. So in order to beat him, his weakness was the knife, right? In the old one, I tried that. Here, fellas, it still didn't work. I had to put everything I had. If I was you, before you get to this part of the game, save up some magnum ammo, right? And just go ham. Shoot him a few good time on second phase, not first phase. First phase, you can easily beat him with the knife, but second phase, shoot him with the magnum a few times. Shoot him with the shotgun, and he should be dead. Easy. But the thing is, I didn't have any magnum ammo, and they barely gave you ammo. I'm telling you, they barely gave you ammo. And some of Krauzer's moves, he would glide on the ground, which would just make it so frustrating. And he's so fast, and Leon is so slow. It's like, man, just because Leon is super slow, that's what made this fight even worse. Leon is just so slow. Sometimes you can't even turn around fast enough to even deflect or even look at what moves he's doing, and you will get killed instantly. And especially on hardcore, man, I think he would just do 2 jabs or one yeah, if he does, there's one move where he will jump in the air, he'll flip. I think that was a one shot in hardcore, but after that, that was so dreadful, fellas. That my goodness. But this fight was cool though. They still had the soundtrack. It looked like something that could have been in the original RE4. It was pretty good, but the only problem was, don't play it on hardcore. If you don't have ammo, you will have a hard time. But after that, I will say Krauser looks pretty good. The character model is pretty good. I mean, he could have been a little bit more buff, but it is what it is. Of course, voice acting, which I will speak on later on, wasn't as good as the original, but that and the Russian accent wasn't there. That's it. After that, it was okay. Now, when it came to Sadler, the character model was atrocious. I wasn't a big fan of the character model. The accent, I mean, dude, what happened to the Spanish accent? Why is everybody sounding so American? Even Sadler sound American. Even Salazar don't even sound like he's, I mean, bro, what happened to the Spanish accent? What is going on? I guess I'll speak about that later. But his motive now is that he serves a god. Back then, he just had the Plagas, the master Plagas, and he was trying to rule everything, right? But now all of a sudden he's serving things. But I guess that's a minor story change, which is not a big deal. But the character model was not my favorite. I mean, I will say the end boss, like his end final form, pretty good. You even had a second phase where you had to shoot like some placenta, I don't know, some stomach, it was some floaty thing. I'll put the thing on the screen, but I don't remember that being in the OG, but it was in here. So he had a second phase, which I guess was pretty cool. You just had to keep shooting it until until the time ran out and Ada shot. You could shoot the rocket launcher and then GG. So after that, I think the final Sadler was the same boss as the original. He even looked the same. After that, like I said, only thing I didn't like was the character model and that his accent was gone. Again, if you remember, everybody had a Spanish accent, except for Krauser, but everybody had a Spanish accent. And all of a sudden it was gone. Like only one I could hear was from the Big Cheese. But after that, everybody else seemed American. They had the American accent, which you know how I feel about that if you watch my God of War Ragnarok video. But after that, end boss was pretty good. I can't say any too bad because it was literally almost 1-for-1. I didn't see anything different. It was all the same. Only thing was there was a second phase. After that, that was it. Literally the same thing. So you made it to this part of the video. This is where the game becomes a demake, ladies and gentlemen. This is where it goes down from here. Yes, I said certain things I didn't like, but I did praise a lot of other things. But this right here, I can't praise whatsoever at all. Like I couldn't find anything good. I did play the game again. Couldn't find anything good from this part. Let's start with Leon, fellas. Now, if you come in this game thinking Leon's going to be the Chad Leon he was before, you are greatly mistaken, fellas. Leon is a complete downgrade from the original. I mean, did you not see the clip I shared from the beginning? Where's everybody going? Bingo. Oh man, even I can do a better take of that. But at least they kept it. I guess we'll give them props for keeping something that was in the old one. No, I won't. I don't think I should. But even the hasta luego part, they did keep that part. But good God, fellas, it's just not as satisfying. And if you're an OG RE4 fan, you know that's what was the charm of this game. Yes, the story didn't matter, but the voice acting and the banter between Leon and the Ganados or the cult or Sadler and Salazar, it's just something that can never be recreated. If you call the OG a masterpiece and you add this part in it, right? And this part is part of why it's a masterpiece. You can't call this one a masterpiece when it doesn't have this part in it, because you can't lose the charm. I know they tried to keep it. There were parts where Leon would say one-liners which are cringy, because why? Leon came out as a serious guy, like super serious. They tried towards the middle of the game, towards the end, to make Leon the old Leon, but it's like they were trying way too hard. I'm not gonna go on Leon's look because he just have the RE2 remake Leon look, and I'm not gonna go too far into that. That's not too big of a deal. But the charm, fellas, the charm Leon had with Ashely, gone. It's just gone. I mean, they tried to make him flirt. There was a part where in the castle they had him flirting, or at least try to flirt, but Leon couldn't take the hint. Leon was such a weirdo. I know, fellas. It just, if you look at the old Leon, he was just such a macho man, yo. I know you. Oh, game shouldn't be living on the male fantasy. Yes, it should be on the male fantasy. It's a game. God, jeez. I know I'm going too deep into this, but I know that's what they tried to do, at least from my opinion. I think that's what they're trying to do. Tone Leon down, make him more serious, because Leon's here to do a job. I mean, have you never met real people? People are not this serious. But again, yes, Leon came in serious, but towards the end, they try to make my man all cool like he was in the old one. But it was super cringy because all these one-liners are pointless. Sometimes Leon would talk to himself. I mean, in the old one, Leon wouldn't say quotes, right? It would just have a word on the bottom. Well, that's because all those stuff he was saying was in his head. Like when he was in the first part of the game, you would see that lady being hung up by I think it was I don't know, some type of rake, right? And then it was like, no sex discrimination here, better find her fast, right? That was just a line that was said, as a quote text, right? Well, that's because it was in his head the whole time. So that's why it was up to the player to read it out. But that was all Leon's head. That's why everything was in a text. At least that's how I was taking it. But in this part, Leon talks to himself most of the time, like he's in the Last of Us game. Like even Ashely does the same thing, for the love of God.
Hey, look! The flag's been lowered.
Like she would talk. There's some parts where Ashely would not stop talking. Just let her have the same quotes. Leave it to me, Leon, and over there, Leon. Hey, she don't have to. Like sometimes she'll. I mean, again, they try to make them flirt and have that connection. Make it seem like. Now this thing is, they did all this, right, which will ruin the end. But once I tell you the end, unless you already seen it, you probably already saw it. But just know. Oh God, just know Leon is just not the same no more. I did make a whole short about how Leon used to be. Even certain quotes like, I don't, following a lady's style is not, or following a lady is just not my style. Like, what happened to that? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Take it. That's what, again, that was the charm of Leon back then. So taking that out here is just weird, right? It has to be weird. Ashely. Now, Ashely's a big one. We've been debating this on my stream. Where I only debated with a few people. Ashely has actually grown on me, fellas. Okay, I bit the bullet. This actually grown on me a little bit. Now, I still prefer the old one. I don't know. Something about the old one I prefer more. Maybe I got an ear fetish. Probably. I probably got an ear fetish, but I prefer the old Ashely over the new one. Now, is why I prefer the old one still. The old Ashely made sense for her age, like the way she acted. This one, is she still supposed to be 20 years old? Because she looked like 27-ish, about that age. And the haircut, fellas. I said it on the stream. I cannot deal with that haircut. Dude, that I don't know what type of haircut that is, but that haircut, why did they even go this route? That has to be some type of modern thing. That is a modern thing. That has to be some type of modern cheese, some type of cheese chains. And if you know by cheese, you know what I mean. That has to be some type of modern thing, because what woman with that type of haircut? I don't know any. Now, I will say, though, can't lie. The actor for Ashely, I can't lie. I ain't gonna lie, man. Not gonna lie. Only the men would know what I'm saying here. But she looked pretty good, fellas, I will say. But my thing is, with this Ashely, I don't know. Something about the haircut is throwing me off. I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, the voice actor did pretty good job. It's still, would I prefer this one over the old one? This Ashely's voice acting over the old one? Probably. It's not bad. It's not a bad voice acting. The only problem with Ashely, I would say, is what they did with her with the gameplay. I hate this new system of she can go far away, spread out, and then this one where she follows you. I will say the old Ashely at least kept up with you most of the time. This Ashely will be super clumsy. She'll be running and tripping. She will be left behind most of the time. You don't know how frustrating this part is. Like, this Ashely, I don't know why they went with this gameplay of spreading out. This was the worst. Ashely's just bad. Ashely's not good at all. Like, it's too frustrating to play with her. If you don't have the knight outfit, is too frustrating to play with her. Don't even bother. Like, most of the time, especially if you play on hardcore, you will lose her most of the time. You will fail at least 4 times, I will say. She is way too clumsy, especially if you try to skip all of the enemies. This is what I meant about the game wanting you to shoot and interact with every enemy. Because if you try to run past every enemy, Ashely most of the time won't keep up with you, and they will grab her and they will take her away. And oh my gosh, just screaming, Leon! After especially you die, sometime Ashely would be hiding, right? And then you end up dying. And she would get out of the locker. Yo, get out of the locker after you die. I know you care about Leon, but goodness, you're going to kill yourself just to say Leon to come out and see that he died. And the old one actually would just stay hidden the whole time. But I will say, at least look like she has more of a care for Leon. She cares more about Leon here. One thing I will give props, which I shouldn't give props for, but this is 2023, so I have to give this prop. I will say they kept her femininity. They did. They didn't make her no strong female. From what I saw, I didn't get no vibe, as the kids say now, no strong female vibe from her. So I will say they kept her girly, run and everything. Good job, Capcom. Even though, again, I shouldn't give no credit for this at all. But since this is 2023, there you go, Capcom. You get my good job there. We have to give props there. They could have made her, you know what? They could have made her Abby. Or they could have made her Ellie or something. But they kept her femininity, right? If that's the word, which I think it is. They kept that. And she still have her girly screams and her girly run. There was the one part where she landed on Leon. She said, my hero. So, okay. Cringe, but still pretty good. That was a cool little charm. She would flirt with Leon here and there. So I guess that was okay. But again, the only problem I had with Ashely was her gameplay, her mechanic, which is that stupid spread out. And her haircut. I can't deal with the haircut. But I will say the face looked pretty good. Just because the actor looked kind of good. You know what I'm saying? But whatever. So, again, Ashely was okay. I appreciated how they kept her femininity. That's all I can say about that. Again, I shouldn't be giving props for that. But it is what it is. 2023, they could have made her a strong female. But I will say I didn't get that vibe from her. A few times she did save Leon. I don't know if that's where they were going with that, but I couldn't, I do look for those things, but I didn't see it. So good job, Capcom, I guess. Now, I did speak about Salazar and Krauser, how their accents are gone. Even Sadler's accent was gone. I do want to point out also how the game, I don't know, something about being super quiet. I think I mentioned this in the Dead Space remake, but even the voice acting for the Ganados, like, them saying, ahí estás, or whatever, it seemed less energetic. I did try to listen to them, especially with the game being so quiet and trying to balance every sound. Couldn't, I don't know. It's still there. They still have the same quotes, but it seems like they're just a little bit less energy. Some of the things they say, the Ganados be yelling at you when you get there. But that was just a minor thing I kind of wanted to point out. But like I said, the accents for Sadler was gone. I mean, I don't know why did they go this route. You can hear yourself. He sound American to me.
I am Osman Sadler.
I might just be mistaken. Am I mistaken? He just sound like a normal American. So is Krauser. So, Salazar, I think, has an accent, but he doesn't have the voice acting is, not Mr. Kennedy. It's not there, man. It's not, it's not good. It's just bad. I'll just say that. It's just bad. Soulless at that. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, That's all I gotta say about that. But the big one, the big character that was killed, I'm talking about just murdered, had to be Ada. Ada's character was murdered. First with looks.
Right there, Leon. Wouldn't make me use this, would you?
Well, after 6 years, that is one hell of a greeting, Ada.
You don't seem surprised. Interesting.
Try using knives next time. Better for close encounters.
Not a bad move.
Voice acting. I mean, what happened to the red dress? What's up with this crew neck dress she's wearing, looking like Velma or something? In the haircut, oh my gosh. I know she had a short haircut in the old one, but what is this? What is this haircut? Dude, the actor felt like she didn't want to be there. Literally how she sounded retarded. Like, come on, yo. Like, she didn't seem like she wanted to be there. Like, what, were they paying her, not paying her enough? Like, what is this voice acting, yo? This is a modern remake. You're supposed to do things better, right? Voice acting was a huge thing in the old one. And if you remember in the old one, Ada had like this sexy, I don't like when men play rough, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Like, I know I didn't do that right. Or, you got, that's a big thing you got there. Like, yo, what? Come on, yo. Like, what is this? You can't, like one of my viewers said, she sound trans for real. Like, come on, yo. What is this voice acting? I mean, the look. Ada had like this mysterious look with the red dress now she had some high heel on, looking like a straight up hooker. I mean, she had like this little the holster for the gun on one side of the leg. The dress had a cut all the way up. That's how she had her movement. I mean, come on, like, dude, what is this? How is nobody complaining about this? I feel like I was the only one complaining about this. This is just atrocious. We can excuse, I guess, Leon's one, which for me, again, I still believe that the charm, I still stand by it. The charm is not there. We can bypass that, but we can't bypass this, man. This is just atrocious, fellas. I don't know, man. This part of the game was where it didn't even touch the old one. Didn't innovate at all, didn't do better than the old one, didn't come close. But another thing that was ruined, I didn't see also, was that when Leon got on the jet ski, he didn't say sweetheart. I do want to ask this question: what's wrong with calling women sweetheart, huh? I still to this day don't see the problem. But they took that line out. Certain sexist line they took out. I mean, I guess because it's a modern remake, you must, cater to the modern people, how they speak or whatever, or how it was stuff they find offensive. But, like, come on. Ada was completely ruined. Certain things I didn't see. Like, Leon, even another thing I'll point out, I know this is out of the, out of the content or whatever, out of subject, but Leon, I think if you had the suit of armor for Ashely, he wouldn't do that little animation he did back then. I think somebody can prove me wrong but from my research, I didn't see it. He'll do like this backache thing where he hold his back because the armor's too heavy. Certain small things, small little charms like that. If you have the suit, if you have the outfit, the suit outfit, right? The gangster outfit, the hat is not laid to the side. It seemed like he's wearing a stupid fedora. I mean, good God. I mean, if you remember the old one, the little style he had by putting the hat on the side, You know what I mean? Like small things like that weren't broadly. You can tell it's not the same people. You know, the same heart didn't come with this game. But you know, small things like that I noticed. It just wasn't. You know, you can't call this a masterpiece when it didn't even try to even do better than the old one in this department. And you know, even gameplay wise, stuff like that. But it is what it is, fellas. Last but not least, Luis. Let's talk about Luis real quick. I'm gonna make this pretty fast. So if you remember before in the video, I said that having that mission with Luis was just unbearable, and I meant that, because if you remember back then, Luis was like a charming, you know, very mysterious, your only friend on the island. If you remember, he was actually Leon. Like him and Leon was actually cool. Like they seemed to have, you know, some type of chemistry. But in this one, he seemed to just be annoying Leon the whole time, and annoying me too. It's not just Leon, he's also annoying to me. He seems like some type of God of War Ragnarok side character that talks too much, some type of Sony side character that talks too much. This game, they change him completely. He's supposed to be working with Ada the whole time, or he want to do something good or whatever, just like he said in the old one, right? But instead, he's just annoying the whole time. He talks, talk. And the thing is, you start noticing it. At first, you don't notice it, especially on the railroad. But throughout that one part of the mine where you have to either fight the El Gigante, before you fight the El Gigante, actually, Luis is a non-stop talker. He just became annoying in this one, and he ended up dying, and you were supposed to feel bad for him. I was actually glad he was gone, despite he was barely in the story, to be honest. I barely remembered him until he died, but they wanted you to feel sorry for him and blah blah. The only reason Luis, you know, you felt sorry for Luis when he died in the old one was because he was the only guy there. He's the only person you talked to. Everybody else was an enemy. It was only you and Ashely. And Ashely, when she wasn't there, it was him. That was your friend, right? And I can agree that Luis died too early. Yes. But if you're going to extend him more, like they did here, you can't make him annoying. Now, I kind of want to brief over the ending also, because I don't even want to make this video any longer.
When you're home safe.
Thank you for saving me.
Don't mention it.
You know, I could put in a word with my dad. Have you assigned to my detail, if you're interested.
You don't need me.
That's so gay. But all I can say about that ending, let's see, what word can I describe the ending? And by ending, I mean the overtime ending, right? You know, when Ashely asked Leon to do overtime or whatever. And the thing is, they called this one overtime, yet Leon was even offered to do, he was actually offered to do real overtime. And you know what I mean, he wasn't offered to do overtime, but he was offered to do actual overtime, which is hilarious, yo. But whatever. So one word I can describe this ending is just, it was just gay. That's it. That's all I can say. It was just gay. That's it. There's no other word to describe this ending right there. It sucked. After everything I said about this game, would I recommend? Yeah. If you never played RE4, I would still say, for the love of God, go play the old one. Try the old one. I mean, there was a certain charm to the old one, like I said, gameplay wise, which is super fun. You gotta try it. I mean, again, I said I didn't like this gameplay. I didn't hate it, but I didn't enjoy it too much. But I will say, it had its own perk, like, you know, quick weapon equip. That's cool things that could have been, you know, that's added. I like that stuff, like the deflect and the, you know, and the stealth. That's all cool things you can add to the game. I didn't hate them. Those were cool. It has its own perk. I will say the game it looks very good. It has its thing going for it. Now, for the people that want to say this is a completely different game, I don't see it. Literally, the game is 1-to-1 in most of it. I'll say probably 80% of the game is 1-to-1. And, you know, they still try to keep everything that was in the old one. So it's still technically the same game. It is inspired by the old game. So it's the same game, but with modern graphics and with this new engine. You know, I think ever since RE7 all of Resident Evil remakes were kind of looking the same. Yes, they were third person, but I think that was the only different. I think if every remake of Resident Evil, like from 2 to 4, was first person, they would look exactly like 8 and 7. Just saying. But that's just a thing, a thought I had. So, is it a masterpiece? No. Is it amazing? No. Is it pretty good? Yes. For me to say a game's pretty good in this modern time, it is that is a pretty big thing. And I will say I will be playing this game again. I would, time to time I'll go back and play it again. So that's a good thing, fellas. Is it going to be game of the year? Probably. Am I tired of remakes? Yes. I mean, how many remakes are we gonna get from especially Capcom, man? When are we gonna get RE9 or something? I feel like they should just abandon this Ethan Winters and his daughter thing. Abandon that, please. Go back to some roots. I mean, maybe bring Chris back or something, Wesker and stuff like that. Try to reboot maybe somehow, some way that way, or just bring new characters all in total. Maybe I'm just tired of like I said, I'm tired of remake. I might just be, but I enjoyed this remake, I will say. Dead Space remake has nothing on this in my opinion. I still play Dead Space remake I did went back and played it a little bit, but I will say I had more fun on this game though. Is it scary? No. I don't know where people are getting this. This is scarier than the old one. I still think the old one had its scary parts. Excuse me. It still had its scary parts. It still tried to be scary. Unlike 5. But again, the game was pretty good. If you're an OG fan, still wait on sale. But I think you should still enjoy it. It's the thing is, why do I have to wait for mods for them to fix certain things? Like, Ashely's ballistics. I didn't talk about the regenerator too much, but the regenerators look stupid to me. They look like blobs. But I'm sure people are not going to make it this far in the video. But they look like blobs. They have more ballistics than even Ashely. Right? But I will say that they still pretty scary with the glowy eyes and the little breathing. Still pretty good. So, like I said, the game has still kept its, it still tried to be like the original, but it had a lot of cut content that people not even going to point out, of course. But again, I did enjoy it. Is it better than the old one? No. I don't know who was that goober that made that video that he liked the new one more than the old one. I don't know who that goober was, that zoomer was, but whatever, bro. No way you can call yourself an OG fan and say this is better than the old one. I don't care if you say the old one's outdated. It's still fun. Go back and play it. It's still fun. You know what I'm saying? Instead of, these people had COVID mask in this one too. I didn't get to point that out, but that was in there also. But, instead of these people focusing on trying to bring the same charm back, they're worried about people's mindset, what they're gonna think. Oh my gosh, Ashely, you can look up Ashely's dress. So, but that was a charm that was in the old one. Most of the time, Ashely, you could kill Ashely in the old one. This one, you have to accidentally kill her. Stuff like that. But some of the charm that was in the old one, I guess, is not up to par or would be too offensive or too, modern gamers wouldn't even run to this game if they heard some of the things that was in the old one. You know what I'm saying? If you played the old one. But again, like I said, the charm was lost. Gameplay was not my favorite, but I still enjoyed it time to time. The game looks very nice. I did enjoy my time. Ganados, they still kept some of the, old stuff that was in there. So, nostalgia was hitting, so it was pretty good. Yeah, but that's all I got, fellas. I know if you made it to this far in the video, you get treated with me playing the original RE4 theme song. There you go. You get to enjoy it right there. Have it your way. There you go. That's me. Yes, that is me playing that right there. This is on the piano, but the OG just did it better.